Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, East Hawaii. Our music today is provided by TIANA, MALONE, Jennings. So we'll go right into our first selection, which is from TIANA and her group Off the Grid, and it's called Moving On. And after TIANA sings, we'll go right into our pule.
That sounds fun over there. I want to be a part of that cleanup crew.
Some may say they don't know who I am. Ambitious passions, working business cash-ins, and always striving to get ahead. You wait one day, you can say you knew us way back when. Mistakes, I've been judged that way. They don't care who I am. I keep making my plans, cruising with all my friends. No one's stopping me from getting ahead, and I'm moving on, and I'm moving on to where I belong, and I'm moving on. Who's coming along? 'Cause I'm moving strong. Down inside, I believe the lies they say I am. Then I remember my strength and I say, forget you anyway. I know who I am, and I'm moving on, moving on, moving on, moving on, moving on.
Thank you so much, Tiana, for that inspiration this morning. And wherever you are this morning, just get settled in your seat and feet grounded on the floor and know that you are centered in spirit. And let's know together that we are all moving on. We are all moving through this with spirit as our constant companion. And when we forget this, we pause. We pause to breathe and remember who and what we truly are despite outer circumstances. And what we truly are magnificent, strong, courageous expressions of spirit right here and right now. So we know that. We know there's never any separation between spirit and ourselves, between our consciousness and the greater consciousness of spirit that lives, moves, and has its being by means of each of us. So knowing this truth and just breathing it into my very being, to every cell of my body, I speak my word now for our Sunday service. It's already started out with inspiration, so I am knowing that this inspiration continues through our creative thought, through our music, and through our guest speaker today, providing each and every one of us with a beautiful, centering, guiding Sunday experience to preface the week to come. So I just release my word right now to law, knowing that law is infallible and so is love. So we combine the two, the law and the love, to create this Sunday service this morning. And gratefully, I close the prayer by saying, and so it is. Okay, so once again, welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living East Hawaii, where our vision is awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence, and our mission is to provide an environment of aloha, inspiring a spiritual approach to living. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you're welcome here. And whatever you're wearing on your spiritual journey today, you're welcome here. So I'd like to introduce our creative thought today, which is brought to us via video by Cherie McCarthy.
And aloha from sunny Central California. I am here gratefully contributing to the Center for Spiritual Living East Hawaii with a creative thought this morning on a concept called spiritual bypass, combined with a tool called RAIN as a medicine for spiritual bypass. So what is spiritual bypass? The term was coined in 1984 by John Wellwood. John Wellwood is a clinical psychologist and a devout practitioner of meditation and Buddhist principles. He explored the intersection of psychological and spiritual work and discussed the relationship between spiritual awakening, called Satori, and psychological work. Satori refers to the experience of kensho. Ken means seeing, and sho means nature or essence. Now we know the Center for Spiritual Living's purpose and mission in East Hawaii is awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence. I love that. What a wonderful purpose and mission. So Satori, awakening, in this context means seeing into one's true nature. Now I know in religious science, that would be clearly our true nature is one with the divine. It is the divine. Mr. Wellwood posed this question: does the kind of change and growth that comes from psychotherapy and psychological work relate to this term awakening? Are they the same, overlapping, or completely different? Well, in this journey, he found that for many, psychology and personal development often lead to individuals using spiritual practices. And then with our human nature, it leads to using these practices as a substitute for facing psychological issues and unconscious wounds. This is a double-edged sword, these spiritual practices that we hold so dearly, this spiritual mind treatment, if you will, or affirmative prayer or positive thinking. It's a sword. It cuts through negativity. It can move us forward in so many ways. And there's a double edge to the sword, which is if we are not truly awake to our true nature as a human, we can keep ourselves stuck in denial. So the essence of this type of suffering, the human obsessive aversion to pain, pushing it away so we don't experience it, and using unconscious strategies to avoid what is actually being experienced in the body if one would stop long enough to breathe and experience it. Yes? We don't do that a lot. We drive forward with our practices, plowing through. I'm going to speak about myself. Hopefully some of you can relate. I have driven through, plowing through with my spiritual practices, making all kinds of wonderful and brilliant things happening, and sometimes winding up face down on the concrete going, what the heck happened? And until I came to the understanding for myself that I have to sit down and breathe and get in touch with this body, this human, in order to keep myself in a state of true wisdom, to be able to utilize these practices in successful and functional ways. Allow me to turn to this article by Tara Brach. Well, I'm not going to turn to the article. I'm just going to go straight to the practice, okay? The Reign of Self-Compassion, she calls this article. Google it, the Reign of Self-Compassion. So RAIN is an acronym. It's an easy to remember tool. You can practice it in meditation. You can practice it in moment-to-moment living. You can practice it anywhere. To just be present with the experience. Just to be there with our human experience as it is before we leap to an affirmative statement or prayer. RAIN. The first step of RAIN is recognize what's going on right here, right now, consciously acknowledging in any given moment the thoughts, feelings, or behaviors that are occurring in and within of ourselves and externally that are affecting us. It's the first step of recognizing, wow, I'm going so fast because I just don't want to feel this fear or whatever may be going on. The second is to allow that experience to be there. Just allow it as it is. There's no need to avoid, fix, or be frightened of a thought. It's just a thought. Underneath the surface, we are nurturing it with feelings. If we can bring it up to the light, we can unhook from it, unidentify with it, and take the emotional charge out of it so that we are not fertilizing it for further growth in our lives, right? So allowing the experience to be there, investigate with care and interest. What does this need? What do I need? What is the most important thing for this part of me right now to be able to be here and continue through whatever I'm going through? And the N stands for nurture and care with self-compassion. Self-compassion begins to naturally arise in the moments that we recognize that we're suffering, that we recognize, oh my gosh, I'm afraid. And we allow that feeling to rise, we have compassion for ourselves. As long as we're judging ourselves and not allowing ourselves to feel, we aren't allowed to do that. So does my experience now need a message of reassurance? Does it need forgiveness? Maybe it just needs a companion to see it and hear it. Experiment. Which gesture brings the most comfort to you, the most kindness? Put your hand on your heart. Say, I love you. I hear you. I'm listening. RAIN. Recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture with self-compassion. I hope you look them up. Aloha and namaste.
Thank you, Cherie. And now welcome back our musician, TIANA MALONE Jennings. And this selection is called Palehua, and it's written by Amy Hanaiali'i Gilliam. Thank you.
Call Parle, ooh, ah, oh, parle, ooh, ah. Thank you so much. Aloha kia kua. Mahalo for coming out for the Heart Walk. We're Off the Grid. You can find us online at offthegridmusic.org. Aloha.
One more time, Off the Grid, offthegridmusic.org.
Thank you so much, Tiana. How beautiful was that? What a beautiful way to continue our Sunday service. And now it's time for our guest speaker. And our speaker has served on our leadership council previously, and she is a returning member of our council as of this January, which I'm delighted about. She's been a member of our community since moving here from Seattle in 2008. She's been an ordained metaphysical and spiritualist minister since 1982, and she's also a member of the pagan clergy in the Sylvan tradition since 2008. She is the author of the book Essential Mysteries, a user's guide for the 21st century mystic, and has a private practice through which she provides spiritual counseling, healing, and meditation instruction. I know you are welcoming her from home, Erica Guinness.
Oh, thank you. Aloha. Oh, I want to hug you all, so just figure I'm hugging you wherever you are, and in a gentle and virtual way, of course. So, let me get my stuff together here. This is all so cool and so new, and I am pleased, and I will do my best to look at you all in the camera. So, and thank you, Kathy. Thank you. So it's really, this is the most people I've seen in a really long time. It's very cool, even though it's under 10, but still a lot. Anyway, so this talk has been writing itself in my head for a couple of weeks. That's what happens when I do talks. And I thought I could get away with starting it later in the week, but I could hear it beginning in my head, which is how things occur to me when I'm writing. They just sort of start, and I have to then sit down and start writing them. So I jotted some things down, and I got the beginning and kind of the end done, but I was planning on leaving the middle to sort of sort itself out later, kind of unfold and show me what it wanted to be and how I wanted to approach it all. So last Tuesday, it's a few days ago, after telling someone that I'm definitely not going to work on this, I sat down to meditate. Again, it's one of my favorite things to do, and if you know me, you already know that. Since I was absolutely not going to work on it, it was only Tuesday. So I sat down, and everything has been moving so fast. There's so many things happening, and I wanted to stay current. Everything's been so emotional these days. There's so much happening, so I'm getting ahead of myself. But so there I was sitting, closing my eyes, and settling in what I wanted to do and experience, and yes, you've already guessed this, I'm sure. It started in my head again, and I sat there, and I started thinking about things I would put in there and what I would say, and I thought, oh, well, I could just sit here and fight this, or I could just go to my computer and start writing. So I did. So that's what I did. I got out of my darn chair, went into the other room, which is the smallest room in my house, but it's where my computer is, and I started to put this all together. Now, the idea of having a beginning and end to my talk and wanting to let the end or the middle sort of sort itself out put a smile on my face, because the topic for this week is actually the path made clear. And it occurred to me that along with all the other analogies that were totally in my head, flowing back and forth, that the path in this lifetime is kind of like that in a way, because you know the beginning, right? That's the being born part, coming into this physical reality in all its glory, and the ending, right? Being, of course, when we leave this physical reality, when we die, or transition, as many of my friends say, or change addresses, as many of my friends say here in Hawaii, and move on to the next spiritual experience or evolution of ourselves as spirit. It's that whole middle thing, though, the life part of it, that can get a little interesting and sometimes hard to follow. It's kind of like an art film with a really good plot, but kind of abstract. And somehow I may have dozed off just for a moment, and I'm trying to get back up to speed with what the heck is happening Why are we now all in black and white? Why is there a hedgehog in the corner? Is that significant somehow? I love hedgehogs, I had to put that in. Anyway, so navigating the middle part, and by that I mean the life part of this equation, is why we have topics like this, the path made clear. If it was always really, really clear, with no exceptions, there would be no need for a talk about it, yeah? That, however, is not always the case, as you may have noticed, or it might just be me, which is also totally fine. So here's a case in point. When Kathy first asked me at the beginning of March, remember March? It seems so long ago. She asked me if I wanted to speak near the end of May. It was what feels like about 100 years ago. I was at a desk in an office at a day job in Hilo that I've since let go of. I was imagining what it would be like near the end of May on Memorial Day weekend. And since I live here in Hawaii, that was a really nice thing to ponder. And if you know anything at all about me, you know I like to talk. So of course I said yes. Now in my mind's eye, I saw the Sunday service and all the smiling faces of our congregation, because CSL East Hawaii is one of the best groups of people to speak to or play music to ever, in my opinion. It's what they call a good room, yeah? So I imagine my friends here, and even a very special sweetie friend who would have already made the journey from England and would have been here still to see my talk, and I imagine some sort of a get-together since it was a holiday. Well, I don't have to tell you that things have unfolded slightly differently than I had planned. And this can be especially unsettling to someone like me who is used to having a relatively good idea of how things are going to go. Like, not 100%, of course, but I usually have some prior indications of general direction. I'm also relatively consistent in doing spiritual mind treatment, meditation, prayer, and things normally seem kind of plannable. Life is good and very good. We have choices. So maybe you can relate to that, being unsettled a little or a lot. Or maybe you're actually someone who is already really good at surfing the energy and direction without having to know where it's headed. I guess I have some of both. Yet this whole time we are living in has required of me a level of trust and faith that is totally independent of knowing a specific outcome. Now, some may argue that is actually part of the definition of trust and faith. Yeah, so it's not a bad time for me to think about my path, or our path, or the path ahead. So what the heck is our path anyway? What does that mean to you? Is it set? Is it static? Is it changeable? Is it fluid? Here are some things that I've been pondering. Through a conversation with someone who is still, by the way, in England, since the travel ban occurred the very day he was online preparing to buy his ticket. And so rather than being here, he will see my talk on YouTube with the rest of my loved ones and friends. I thought about what is random chance and what's not. Is there anything that's really random? If we are all truly one mind, capital M, as is taught in this teaching, then isn't the universe or divine mind still in there somewhere? So might not the apparent randomness be how it shows us its face and blesses us, even if we don't know how until later, maybe in hindsight? Is my path set? To what degree? Did I set it before I came into this body? Is it all fated now and I am here or not? And if not, if it's not fated, then what, if anything, is a potential fixed point in time? Okay, yes, I was just quoting from Doctor Who there. What's malleable? What's flexible? And using the writing analogy, are we talking sonnet, where there's a strict structure, but I'm free to write anything I want as long as I'm within that structure? Or are we talking free verse, where I can pretty much write anything I want? Did I get to set this all up before I got here? And what was that fine print at the bottom of the brochure? Anyway, so to quote the Indigo Girls, there is more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line. And the less I seek my source for some definitive, the closer I am to find. Now, I don't have all the answers at my fingertips. Although I do believe that within each of us, there is that which knows what to do and how to do it. And here's another quote from one of my favorite books. "The world is your exercise book, the pages on which you do your sums. It is not reality, but though you may express reality there if you wish, you are also free to write lies or nonsense or tear the pages." And that's from Richard Bach, Illusions. I think that an aspect of our path is that which we see when we look behind us, where we have been as we've been following our bliss. However, I think it's also what we see when we look behind us, even we feel like we haven't been following our bliss, which is to say, it is the journey that we take in this lifetime. In that way, we can say we are always on our path, no matter what is going on. It may not be exactly where we want to be, but it is where we are. So as such, underneath our feet is the path we are standing on, and it unfolds as we go. In the same way that there are many ways to travel from Pahoa, which is where I live, to Hilo, where I used to work, some quicker than others, some at least conceptually starting out in going the exact opposite direction, going all the way around the world, and then ending up in Hilo. That's also a path. So perhaps it's not just the path, it's how we feel while we're on it. How close to our inner guidance we are, which shows a way that is more fun and rewarding than some other potential ways to go. And from the same Richard Bach book, "In the path of our happiness shall we find the learning for which we have chosen this lifetime." I have always really loved that idea. And a quote from my book, Essential Mysteries, A User's Guide for the 21st Century Mystic, which I'll be reading from a little later. I say, and I believe, we each have a unique purpose in this lifetime, something that we as a spiritual being came here to do. We each have a calling, something we are drawn to, a way in which we seek to learn and explore our creative potential. Each being's call is individual and may express itself in a variety of ways. We are each a slightly different vibration of the all that is, a different expression of deity. And as such, there is no one else anywhere who can bring our vibration into the world. So regardless of how external circumstances go, there is that inner landscape that I can really connect to, and it influences my feelings and experiences. And I personally do believe, as Ernest Holmes said, there is a power for good, and we can use it. So that would seem to say that we have choice in all this. So while that is awesome, I think it can also be really daunting sometimes. It's easy to process choice, at least for me, on our paths when things are going really well and all is right in the world. But what about when things are kind of off kilter? When there are so many options and so much information and you have to make choices? It's really easy to get caught up in worrying about doing it right. Choice, especially has been hard lately with all the sort of sci-fi feeling stuff happening around the world. I read somewhere, it was from a trauma doctor, that it's really a normal aspect of dealing with times as intense as these to have a hard time making decisions. So be nice to yourself. I was so relieved when I read that because the week before I had spent, and I'm not kidding, I exaggerate, but this is not a place where I'm exaggerating, more than 24 hours for me trying to decide between two pretty simple aspects of a gaming character I was creating. I could not do it, I kid you not. I had to eventually talk to my sweetie on the phone, and I'm calling England to talk about this, right? Who I'd wanted to save from this conversation, said he doesn't game. But I talked it through with him. It really helped so much, just have another human to talk to. I was reminded, you can just pick one and go with it. So everything seems to be a meta version of everything else these days. So here I was creating a gaming character, which would have a backstory. I'd also have to choose characteristics and abilities. And it occurred to me as I was writing this talk that this was probably exactly the kind of thing I was doing before I got this body. I shudder to think, okay, love science and science fiction. Cool, yeah, that's good, okay. And a writer, okay, yeah, that can work. Oh wait, well, how about musician? Yeah, that's a good idea, has to be in there too, cool. All right, oh wait, no, there also needs to be something about meditation and about being some kind of minister, and needs to be a Pisces. I can so imagine my soon-to-be guardian angels rolling their eyes and saying, just roll the flippin' dice and take an action. So I have to laugh at myself, and I have to do it often because I'm funny to myself. So one of the things I'm reminded of, or sometimes I even remember on my own, regarding choice is this: trust yourself. Trust your inner guidance. If you have a decision and it's clear which one feels like it's best to your inner self, to your heart, then go with it. And if you don't have the clarity, give yourself permission to wait. Here's a really nice quote from Ernest Holmes, There is within ourselves the answer to every question and the solution of every problem. That spirit makes the demand and will answer that demand from within. When we allow ourselves to wait for the mental storm to die down, be still and know, is the secret guidance, as it is of every problem of life. A perturbed mind can never get the correct answer. A stilled mind always can, because the answer comes from the God within. This is so helpful to me. Now, what about choices that seem mostly equal? Ask yourself, do you really need to make the decision at this moment? And if not, let it be. Wait for an answer to reveal itself. The other option, and this is equally as valid, especially if both sides feel equal, you can just pick one and go with it, like my gaming character. This is such a freeing statement, because sometimes I have to say to myself, all the answers are right. All the answers are right. Every answer is the right answer. And then I just pick one. Once I take all the pressure off, it changes everything. And as Abraham Hicks says, make a decision and line up with it. There is a stillness that comes into my mind when I let go of the struggle. In this current time, it feels like we are on individual paths and also a collective path. All the changes in this terrain can be really unsettling, even if you have a strong spiritual practice. I have been reminded that in my own practice, I teach clients about something called a growth period, which, simply put, is a name for the time it takes our bodies and our psyches to process spiritual change. I usually relate it to being on a new spiritual journey and how it can feel. However, it also feels relevant with current events, at least it does for me. It isn't a new analogy, but it's pretty applicable and has to do with our path. So I'm going to read from my book again, Essential Mysteries, a User's Guide for the 21st Century Mystic. And this is under the chapter on dealing with growth periods. You may have heard the term dark night of the soul. Well, that can mean many things to many people. It is certainly an apt phrase for some kinds of growth periods. Sometimes when you are in the middle of a growth period, light seems like a distant memory. I want to share with you an analogy that has been very helpful to me. If you are walking through a dark tunnel, analogous to your spiritual journey, or even one portion of that journey, at first, you are surrounded by light. You are at the beginning. You can see where you are going. You know that you are entering a tunnel on purpose, and that it will have an end. Sometime later, read as you're going into your growth period, you notice it's getting darker, but you feel okay. You feel okay about that since you can still the light that's coming from behind you. You can still see a little bit. It's coming from where you started. At some time in your journey, you are going to be at midpoint. At that midpoint, it's going to be, if it's a large enough tunnel, you are going to be in pitch black. You won't be able to see the light from where you came from, and the light that you're going toward won't be visible yet. Know that it isn't gone. It just isn't visible in the moment. Now, I've actually tested this out in a real tunnel. Now, this was before cell phones. It was in Leavenworth in Washington, and it was with some other people. I don't know why we did it, but we did it. And sure enough, it got really, really dark. I couldn't see anything. All I could hear was the dripping of water from the ceiling and my own footsteps, and I got very uncomfortable. One might even say scared. The trick, whether you are in a tunnel or in a huge growth period, is to remember to keep moving. If you have the desire to turn around and run back, which you are always free to do, remember, you will still have exactly the same amount of distance to travel, but you'll arrive back where you started. If, however, you keep moving, and a former teacher of mine would say, crawl, drag yourself along, it doesn't matter how fast you're going, just don't stop, in the direction that you're headed out, then eventually you will see a teeny tiny point of light. And if you keep going, that light will grow larger. Eventually, you will be able to see all around you, and you will arrive at your intended destination. So why this talk about tunnels, you ask? Simple. It is because we do this all the time, and especially when we are starting something new. We begin, we hit a growth period, and then we want to quit because we get scared. We ask for change, and then when we get it, we're unhappy because things are different. What is important, especially when the process feels challenging, is to remember this is a normal, natural, and necessary part of learning and growing. Many of us like to try to skip this part or try to ignore it. I'm talking about other people, of course, never myself. We may feel more fragile at this time and want to protect ourselves by denying our changes. So unfortunately, one of the things that denial can do is prolong the process. If you acknowledge your growth period, you can then begin to communicate with your body about what's happening and what your body needs. Communication will make it go so much more smoothly. Sometimes all it takes is that conscious recognition that you are indeed in a growth period. It can make it all make sense. And another thing to remember is that growth periods are cyclic. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end. They don't go on forever, and you will adjust to the changes, and you will have grown. Remember the old adage, this too shall pass. So trust yourself, trust the process, trust the spirit of the universe, trust love. Let it clear your way. Trust that there is that within you that knows what to do and how to do it. And also be really kind to yourself in the process. The one thing we do know is that change is constant. So as I mentioned earlier, on our path this lifetime, we have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And since this is actually Memorial Day weekend, I wanted to at least spend a moment to connect with all that has gone before. I'm going to approach it a little differently, though. And it is inspired by a personal experience I had during our Samhain ritual back 1,000,000 years ago in October. So just take a moment. It's just a quick little meditation. And you can close your eyes or not. I won't know. But I find it useful. And connect to the earth. Let yourself ground however you do that. Release any chaos and weirdness down your grounding. Draw the energy of this incredible planet into your body. And spend time letting the energy of the planet remind you of life. Let go of all the voices and static for a few minutes. Listen to the air and the frogs and the birds. Let it remind you of your connection to this amazing place you have come to be in this physical body. And remember that no matter what, you are an eternal spiritual being. You are never ending, ever expanding. You are made from good. This is true right here and right now. Drink that in. Take a moment and just say thank you internally to all that have gone before, those that have passed to the other side of the veil. Next, I invite you to simply breathe. Let the breath breathe you. And imagine how it would feel to have all of the best, highest versions of all our ancestors crowding around both sides of us right now. Our friends and family. What if they were telling you right now how much they adore you just for being? How you are the furthest extension of them and how they are cheering you on. Let yourself have the incredible sense of how much they all love you. You are the point all has come to. You are so loved. Imagine them thrilled with you, all your ancestors. You don't have to do or be anything other than existing in this moment. You are the furthest most point of expansion of all of them and of you in this moment. Let that love in. You are never alone. You don't have to do anything alone. There is this entire line of people going back and back and back, and they all love you. No matter who they were or what they were like when they were in the body, now they are their highest versions of themselves, and they really, truly love you. Breathe. Now feel your heart expand and feel how we are all related, physically and spiritually. We are one planet, one people, one mind, incredibly and beautifully diverse, and yet one. Honor all that have come before and all that are yet to be. Breathe. You can open your eyes whenever you're ready, or if you had your eyes open, you can keep them open. So in ending, I have to imagine you. So I've had to do this, and I'm doing it now. I have to imagine you all out there somewhere, either watching me at home or, I don't know, watch me later after it's been recorded. I have to imagine your smiling faces. I have to imagine my sweet friend somewhere in another country across the pond. And imagine us all together sometime in the same zip code or postal code, and that's okay. I do truly believe, even in the face of so much bizarreness, that the universe and everything in it, regardless of appearances, is at its base love. And I believe the universe is in a conspiracy for my good, and that doesn't just apply to me, but to everybody, to all of us. It's not a requirement that anyone agree with me on that, although I'm sure some of you do because it's part of our philosophy. What's important to me is that I believe it. If I do, then my path, my path is made more clear. I can see what the next indicated thing, what the next indicated action is going to be, even if I can't see the end of the tunnel. And I'll end with one more Richard Bach quote, again from Illusions. Imagine the universe, beautiful and just and perfect. Then be sure of one thing. The is has imagined it quite a bit better than you have. Aloha.
I have to fix the curtain. I can't fix the curtain. Stay tuned for the curtain being fixed next week. And thank you, Erica, for a beautiful, deep, heartfelt, inspirational message. I got so much out of it. I'm so appreciative. And now it's time for our virtual collection. And I'd like all of you to repeat at home our prosperity affirmation, knowing that divine love in and through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. And so it is. And guess who's here in person to sing us out? Our very beloved friend, TIANA Jennings Malone.
Follow my heart, follow my heart, follow my heart to freedom. Follow my heart, follow my heart, follow my heart to freedom, freedom. About one half of my life I spent in learning how to stay alive. All of my life I try living in a ride before my eyes. So many lies, so many lies. Media denies. So many lies, how can it be right? What is truth? They deny it to you. And what you see, they say it cannot be, but I see the truth is within me. Follow my heart, follow my heart, follow my heart to freedom. Follow my heart, follow my heart, follow my heart to freedom. Sing it with me, follow my heart, follow my heart, follow my heart to freedom. Follow my heart, follow my heart, follow my heart to freedom, freedom. 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 I'm a child of creation, and I'm here for inspiration. I didn't come here to watch TV tricks, kicking back on Netflix. Are you getting this? I didn't come here to work away my life. Can you feel it? I'm not a slave to the central bank. When consciousness is on the brink, don't tell me shit don't stink, 'cause we all got progress to make. I'm here for the awakening. Rise up to be truly free, breaking out of our own captivity. God's got your back, it's all you need, all you need, all you need. To believe in yourself, believe in yourself. You're waiting around for no one else. Gotta believe in yourself. Do you need to trust in God for once? Do you need to trust in God and just love? Do you need to trust in God? Follow your heart, follow your heart, follow your heart to freedom. Follow your heart and I'll follow my heart, follow my heart to freedom. Follow my heart, follow my heart, follow my heart to freedom. Follow your heart, follow my heart, follow my heart to freedom, freedom.
Thank you so much, TIANA. That was so powerful. I don't know if Tiana remembers this, but years ago she came to me and asked me for spiritual mind treatment about unleashing her full force into her music and making it happen. And wow, I'm so emotional. I'm looking at answered prayer. And I forgot to give the spiel about collection, so I'm going to do that right now. And thank all of you who have chosen to support us so beautifully. Somebody even drove by my house with a $100 bill this week to add to our collection, and you know who you are. I'm grateful. So it's easy to make a donation by PayPal or credit card. On YouTube, the link is in the video's description, and there is a donate button at the top right of our YouTube channel page. We also have PayPal links on our webpage, which is hawaiicsl.org. And again, we gratefully accept checks by mail or cash driven by my house. It all works for us. We appreciate it. And I have a wonderful, exciting announcement as well, and that is that we are developing a Wednesday night healing service. Actually, Adam, our media guru, is spearheading this. And it just piloted last week, and right now it's on Zoom. And we hope that it will evolve into a live service in Hilo as soon as we can do those kinds of things again. But this service focuses on spiritual healing, which encompasses all of our lives and every part of it. And you can briefly share your prayer needs. We'll have a reading every week. We'll have sharing of not only prayer needs, but demonstrations, and some experiential processes as well. So this is on Wednesday nights, again, piloted last week, but starting for real this week from 7 to 8 o'clock on Zoom. Everybody is welcome, and if you want to attend, please email Adam at cslmediateam@gmail.com, and he will send you a Zoom invitation, or you can call him or email him at whatever way you do it. Let him know you'd like to be a part of this service, because we'd love to have you. And I'm really grateful for Adam spearheading this and being the lead consciousness in this and offering another way for us to get together, even if it's virtual. Also reminding you that Aloha Circle continues on Zoom every Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning. You're welcome to join that as well. Just contact me if you'd like a meeting invitation. You're also welcome to contact us for prayer or to send me via email any standing in the light requests you may have. Okay, so join me now in our closing treatment. We have all been inspired, I know we have, by the music, by the creative thought, by the wonderful message, by all of the love that each of our contributors poured into these things, making sure that you have a beautiful, inspirational Sunday service. So we're grateful for this. And we're also, on this Memorial Day weekend, grateful for all of those who have gone before, our veterans who have served our country so well, and the other veterans nationally who have lost their lives to war. We pray that war soon becomes a thing of the past, and we accept that peace is possible. Peace is possible. It begins with us. And also to honor our latest heroes, which are still with us, and some of them are not, and that is our first responders, those people who have showed up faithfully and given their hearts, their souls, their competence, their professionalism, and their love to nursing and healing our COVID-19 victims. We are so grateful for all of their service. We're grateful for all of the essential workers, and we're grateful that nobody in our congregation has yet and will not be diagnosed with COVID-19, knowing we are all safe, protected, strong, and healthy. I release this treatment to mind for perfect completion, knowing it's already done, it's already so, and as TIANA said in her song, Spirit's got your back, and so it is. Aloha, everybody. We'll see you next week. We bless you, we miss you, and we love you. Aloha.